Erika Hill is off this morning, but she recently sat down with 3 best-selling authors to talk about the Christmas stories that mean the most to them.
'Tis the week before Christmas, so we brought together some incredible writers to tell us their favorite holiday stories. Nicholas Sparks has written 17 books. 6 of them have been turned into movies. 3 more are on the way. Bred Meltzer is the best-selling author of political thrillers, including The Inner Circle and Book of Lies. He also hosts the History Channel series Decoded. And Jennifer Egan won the Pulitzer Prize this spring for her novel, A Visit from the Goon Squad. Nice to have you all here, and, you know, not feel small at all with that pedigree. So it's good to have you here.
Well,
no, it really is. It's such a treat to have all of you here. So you're all very different in terms of genre, in terms of what you write, incredibly well respected within the community, and so well loved by some people who've read your books, myself included. But you have very different takes on holiday stories, which we love. So Jennifer, I'm going to start with you. What to you is the quintessential Christmas or holiday story?
I would say A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And actually, Charles Dickens wrote a lot about Christmas. And I just, you know, he was an amazing writer. I find him to be like catnip, very hard to put down once you pick him up. It's just, you know, compulsive reading. And also, there's something about England at Christmas time, sort of 19th century England. I feel like when I finally went to England when I was 18, I thought, oh, this is the place where Christmas happens. You know, there was a way in which hearing all those stories as a kid made me fantasize and think that that was kind of the original place where Christmas happened. And I think Dickens really captures that.
Have you ever actually spent Christmas in England?
I have not.
You have to put that on your list now.
I know.
See if it compares to the way it's written about.
Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, Scrooge, a squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. Hard and sharp as flint, from which no steel had ever struck out generous fire, secret and self-contained and solitary as an oyster. The cold within him froze his old features, nipped his pointed nose, shriveled his cheek, stiffened his gait, made his eyes red, his thin lips blue, and spoke out shrewdly in his grating voice. A frosty rime was on his head and on his eyebrows and his wiry chin. He carried his own low temperature always about with him. He iced his office in the dog days and didn't thaw it 1 degree at Christmas.
Brad, the book that you chose, I have to say, is one that I love. People don't necessarily associate it as a holiday book, but it's a beautiful book called Thank You, Bear.
Yeah, you know, and it's a non-traditional Christmas story, and I found it through my daughter, my 6-year-old, who came home and said, and I always think, I'll show her what a good book is, right? I'm a writer. And she came home and said, Dad, I have a good book. I took it out of the library. And I thought, you don't have a good book. I give you good books. And we started reading this book, and it's about this little cute bear that's so overly cute. And he says, I found this great present for Mouse. It's a little box. And he shows the box, and you don't know what's in the box, but he says it's so perfect. And he shows it to the elephant. The elephant says, that doesn't seem that nice. And then he shows it to the monkey. The monkey says, I've seen that before. And he eventually gets so dejected and so sad. And he says, you know, maybe it's not that good. And then he gives it to the mouse. And the mouse says, what is it? And he says, I don't know, you may not like this. And he hands it over, and Mouse says, oh, I love it. Exactly what I wanted, an empty box. And for me, you know, I lost my dad 6 months ago. I lost my mom 3 years ago. And I have a lot of empty boxes. And this was the one to fill it. And I looked at my daughter, Lila, and I just said, thank you. Thank you for this one. You filled my empty box. And I appreciate that. So to me, Thank You, Bear was the best thank you. And to me, what Christmas and Hanukkah and all these holidays are all about. Early one morning, a little bear found a little box. He looked inside and said, why, it's the greatest thing ever. Mouse will love this. On his way to find Mouse, he showed it to the monkey. And monkey said, that's not so great. He showed it to the owl, and owl said, I've seen those before. He showed it to the elephant, and elephant said, I think it's too small. He tried to show it to the bunny, but bunny said, I don't have time to look at it right now. The bear stopped. He wondered whether it was so great after all. While he was wondering, Mouse came along and asked Bear what he had. He put the box on the ground and showed it to Mouse. Mouse looked at it this way and that. Then Mouse crawled inside the empty box and said, it's the greatest thing ever. Thank you, Bear.
Yours is equally beautiful. Loved by so many, especially for the 24-hour marathon on Christmas Eve.
Well, oh, you were talking about Christmas Story.
A Christmas Story.
Well, A Christmas Story, of course, that's my favorite film. I think it's many people's favorite holiday film for various reasons. It brings back all this. Actually, I chose, though, a different passage to read. You know, they wanted something a little more book-like, so I picked Coyote Christmas which is, for me, Christmas is for kids, and I give me something that's short that I can read for the kids, and you know, something that's only going to take about 10 minutes because it can be very hectic between.
There's the attention span issue.
Yeah, you have all sorts of. They're like, hurry up and finish so I can get to unwrapping this stuff. So, you know, I picked Coyote Christmas. It's a great take on "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" about a cowboy in the desert, and you know, it ties together what Christmas is all about. You know, in the end, it's really for him about family, and he knows it's important. On the day before Christmas, a cowboy homebound rode into the desert on a horse he called Brown. He had long ago left his family behind as he searched for their fortune in an old desert mine. Now the gold in his pocket felt more like a stone as he read his son's letter, "Daddy, please come on home." The cowboy had promised he'd be back Christmas Day, but the snow in the mountains now stood in his way. Now, it's all called a Coyote Christmas because he meets these coyotes, they drive pink Cadillacs, there's a Santa coyote, all of this, but then they see the Bethlehem star, so to speak, or of course it's in the middle of the desert. So I guess you'd say the story ends this way. After he walks into the mission and sees the newborn, he says, "A wise coyote preacher howled a coyote how low and said, 'Welcome, my friend, with your chunk of gold. Does the gold own you as others I've known? And is gold the reason that you're not at home?'" The cowboy reached for the gold and laid the piece down, gave his gift and turned to the horse he called Brown. As he left the mission on that joyous desert night, all the heavens and earth filled with a wondrous light. And the mission bells tolled, "Let there be peace on earth, and this night of nights upon the Christ child's birth."
So you just shared all of your readings with us, which we loved. Is there something different? I mean, I think there is for me. Is there something different about reading aloud for someone than there is to reading to yourself, especially with something like A Christmas Carol?
You know, I think with anything good, reading it aloud is just a thrill. I mean, it did all begin as an oral tradition, and the music and the rhythm of the language are so much what make a book work. And I think you really hear that when you read aloud. So I find it a delight. It's a great thing about having kids. I read aloud to them all the time.
That's true. How did you like reading Coyote Christmas?
Yeah, I like Coyote Christmas. I mean, it's Coyote Christmas.
It's fun.
Yeah, you know, I like it's a twist on, it's like Scrooged, you know, Bill Murray against Charles Dickens, the classic. It's a new twist on something that everyone's familiar with, and it's a fun story, but it has this, I think it actually has a deeper meaning than the original poem because it's not just this holiday story, which it is, but it really brings it in like, hey, you're out chasing all this stuff. You're hunting for gold. What about your family back home? That's what your kids want. They want you. And to me, you know, that's what the holidays are about. That's what Christmas is about. And that's certainly where I'll be, you know, with the family. Because to me, the tradition of family is very important.
So they want the family. You want to be able to have something to fill up your box that you can have in your Christmas present. So we tie it all together with all three.
That's a nice throw. Impressive.
That was actually outstanding.
We should probably leave it there before I ruin it. But again, appreciate all of you coming in and sharing everything with us. Jennifer Egan, Bred Meltzer, Nicholas Spark, thanks again, and happy holidays.
You too. Thanks.